This module describes procedures for safely and efficiently berthing and tying up a boat. Tying up a boat to a berth or alongside a wharf or dock can be a challenging activity, especially when wind and tide hampers the approach of the boat, and if communication between the skipper and crew is poor. Failure to apply correct procedure can result in damage to the berth, wharf, and boat, as well as injury to crew. This is why good communication between skipper and the crew is essential, and why everyone should clearly understand their job during the tie-up procedure. If you don't know, then ask the skipper. It is also essential that preparation for tying up occurs well before the boat approaches the wharf or dock. This includes preparing all tie-up ropes, heaving lines, and fenders to prevent damage to the berth, wharf, and boat hull. It also includes the skipper providing early instruction regarding the order that ropes are to be used to tie up the boat. And finally, it includes ensuring crew are stationed by each rope ready to toss the heaving line or mooring rope and tie up the boat. A heaving line consists of a length of rope with a weighted end, sometimes called a monkey's fist, to prevent damage to the wharf or injury should it strike someone. The other end of the heaving line is attached to the eye in the mooring rope. To use a heaving line, it is essential that the rope is carefully coiled in one hand or flaked on the deck. The coiled rope can also be divided into two, with one coil in each hand, if preferable. The monkey's fish is then thrown to a person standing on the wharf, preferably next to them rather than directly at them. If a coil is held in both hands, the coil in the hand throwing the monkey's fist is released first. Once the person on the wharf receives the heaving line, they should be instructed to haul it in until they reach the mooring rope. The eye in the mooring rope is then placed over a bollard or cleat on the wharf. Note that if the mooring line is used without a heaving line and falls short and into the water, it will be significantly heavier and harder to throw next time. This is a key reason why heaving lines should be used whenever possible. Typically, 4 mooring ropes are used to tie up a boat: a bow line, a stern line, and 2 springers. Although when strong winds and/or strong tides are expected, additional ropes may be used, including breast lines and/or additional bow or stern lines. As the name implies, a bow line runs from the bow of the boat to the wharf, and usually in the forward direction away from the boat. A stern line runs from the stern, usually around the back of the boat, to the wharf. Springers are ropes that can be used to help lever or spring the boat closer to the wharf when tying up, or away from the wharf when leaving. A forward or bow springer runs from the bow in the aft direction to the wharf, while a stern or aft springer runs from the stern in the forward direction to the wharf. Breast lines run more or less perpendicular from the boat to the wharf, and can be used at the bow, stern, or amidships. They are used to keep the boat adjacent the wharf, and are important if the tidal range is high. On an incoming tide, other ropes may become slack, resulting in a large and dangerous gap between boat and wharf. Breast lines are also useful if wind and/or tide is pushing the boat away from the wharf. A close eye must be kept on breast lines at all times, otherwise the boat may tilt precariously if they snag on the wharf on an incoming or outgoing tide. How the berth is approached and the order in which berthing lines are to be passed ashore is entirely dependent on the skipper. This order may change between different berths, and between the same berth depending on tide and wind conditions. However, some general rules for crew members will apply at all times to facilitate safe and efficient tying up. Heaving lines and mooring ropes must be in place and ready well before the boat approaches the berth or wharf. Both must be carefully coiled on deck and ready to use. Fenders will always be required and should also be in place well in advance. If someone is available at the berth or wharf to receive the heaving line, it should be thrown as soon as possible. This gives that person extra time to haul in the line and place the eye of the mooring rope over a bollard or cleat. With experience you will know how far you can accurately throw the heaving line, although the skipper may also provide instruction when to throw it. It is not advisable for you or anyone else to jump from the boat onto the wharf in order to receive the mooring ropes, due to the risk of falling overboard and being crushed between the boat and the wharf. In these circumstances it may be necessary to lasso the bollard or cleat, particularly if the mooring rope has a large eye spliced in the end. Make sure the trailing ends of all berthing lines remain on board. If any mooring lines drop into the water, which often happens if the thrown rope does not reach the wharf, retrieve as soon as possible so that they do not foul the propeller. Stand out of the way of the skipper line of vision as the wharf is approached, and tie up the boat in the order instructed. Unless the skipper tells you otherwise, obey his directions rather than those who may be on the wharf. Be sure to dip the eye as illustrated. This ensures that any line can be removed from the bollard or cleat in any order, and is good etiquette with neighboring vessels that may also be sharing that bollard, and may want to depart before you. As the boat is being maneuvered into position, wrap the rope 2 or 3 times around the bollard or cleat on board in a figure 8 direction. Hold the trailing end of the rope tightly, keeping hands well away from the bollard or cleat. This minimizes the risk of fingers or hands being crushed if the rope is suddenly pulled or jerked forward. Be prepared to ease the rope out if the skipper instructs, or to pull in slack rope. This may need to be repeated several times as the skipper maneuvers the boat into place. The skipper should inform you when he is satisfied and you can tie off the rope. Ensure there are several figure 8 wraps or turns around the bollard or cleat and then finish off using a half hitch. If you do not use enough figure 8 wraps, the half hitch may become too tight and cannot be undone. For this reason, if 4 or 5 wraps are used, a half hitch may not be necessary. Congratulations! You have completed the berthing module, so now it is time to answer a few questions.